Hello friends, today we'll be discussing the console application in which you can perform the crud operation, that is insert, update, delete and search. So we'll be gonna be creating the console application and we'll perform the insertion operation using the console, and we'll use the backend as an SQL server. So let's get started. For that, I've created a simple console application from the Visual Studio. The next step you need to do is just go to the Solution Explorer and go to the Add New Item and take Service-Based Database. You can give the name of your database. Extension should be MDF. So I'm gonna hit the Add button. Gonna take a moment or two to create your database. So as you can see, we have our database. So the next thing that we're gonna be doing is we'll create the data table. So I'm gonna hit the Server Explorer table, right click and add new table. For this concept, I'm gonna be creating a simple table that is having the credentials of the user, that is username and password, and we'll try to insert some data into that table. You can create the data table definition from the transact SQL script, or you can use it with the designer as well. So both the options are there. For the starting, we'll use the designer. So let's give the name of the field. First, I'm going to say a username, then a password. Both have the same data type, that is a varchar. Then you can give the name of the data table, that is we are giving like a login. Or you can say a EBL log, and hit the update button, which will create the data table for you. So we have our database ready. The data table is also there, and username and password. The next thing that we are going to be doing is we'll do the insertion code. So for that, we need to add a namespace called using system data.sql client. So what are the classes that we are going to be using? That is a connection class, command class will be available in the namespace, that is an SQL client. So the next step is we need to have a connection. So we'll be using the SQL connection. So SQL connection object is equals to new SQL connection, and in the constructor of the SQL connection, we're going to pass the connection string. So you can get it, simply right click on the database, go to the property, connection string, just copy it, Control C, then you have to use it in your constructor, so just paste it. Because it is having some symbols, we need to pass the escape sequence. So pass @ symbol, and whenever we have the path, just do double quote and plus, and whenever we have the slash, we'll pass the double slashes. So like we have the double slash, right? Okay. And here again double quotes and plus, right? Okay. So we have our connection. The next task is to open the connection. So cn.open will open the connection for the transaction. We'll use SQL command. So we'll take username and password from the user. So for that, I'm taking two variables, username and a password. I'm going to give some message so the user can understand what the data needs to be entered. So console.writeLine, and let's pass some message, that is enter username and password. We'll take the data from the user. So username is equals to console.readline. The same thing for the password. So password is equals to again console.readline. Right? Okay. So the next thing, we have the username and password. Now the next thing is what we need to do is we need to pass the command. So we'll take SQL command, SQL command cmd is equals to new SQL command. We'll pass a query that is in SQL and our connection, right? So here you can pass the query. So we are going to be performing an insertion operation. So let's pass insert into, the name of the table is a TPL, login, values. We are having two fields, so single quotes, double quotes, plus plus, because we are taking a varchar field, varchar data type for the fields, right? So single quotes, double quotes, plus plus, again a password. All right. Okay. So we have our command ready. Now to execute it, we'll pass cmd.execute none query, and at last we'll make the connection. This cmd.execute none query will give the number of rows affected. So I'm going to store that number of rows affected into my I variable, and I'm going to check that if I greater than 0 means if it is having some value into the database, it's going to be showing I is value greater than 0, right? So if this so, then we'll pass some message for that. So console.writeLine, and let's say insertion successful, right? So we have our code for how we can perform the insertion operation in console application. There are easy steps. Okay, let's debug and check it's working properly or not. So we'll hit the play button to check. Okay, so it is asking for two fields, that is username and password. Let's give you a field name like I'm giving like a username Chintan, and the password I'm giving like that, right? And hit the enter button. So if you can see, we got the message insertion successfully. You can verify from the data table as well. Simply right click on the data table and show table data, which will give you the already inserted record. So we have two records. This record I tried it for the testing purpose, and this is the final record that we have seen, right? So this is how you can perform the insertion operation. It's quite simple. Add the database table, and then you have to take a connection, then make a connection open. Fields you want to use, we'll get the data from the user, so some messages, then getting the username and password for the user using console.readline, your command object which will have our query and the connection, and to verify the acknowledgement that data is being entered properly and the insertion is being done or not. So for that we are checking like if I greater than 0, then insertion successful. And at last, because we are using the connected architecture, we'll at last make the connection close. I hope you learned from this how you can perform the insertion operation using console application. In the next section, we will be discussing how you can perform update and delete. If you have any query, you can contact me on ce.chintan@gmail.com. Happy learning. Thank you.